In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to create a boot animation for Android devices. My name is Matthew and you're watching another tutorial by the MXQ project. A boot animation is a series of frames put together to create a really cool effect. They are used on a lot of different Android devices, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to put together your very first boot animation. They can be as simple or as complex as you like, so stay tuned and I'm going to be showing you how to create a boot animation. To manually create our boot animation. Now, what you're going to need is you're going to need the set of images that you want in your boot animation. If you've maybe got a video file that you want to include with it, then you can very easily do that with that. For example, this is our MXQ project intro, and we use this. We've used it on previous videos as our sort of intro, and you can break this down and turn it into a boot animation. So you can use lots of different tools to actually do this. You can use Photoshop and stuff like that. We're going to use a really simple tool just here, and it's called Free Video to JPEG Converter. You can get this for free and download it for free. I'll leave the link in the description for you. And all you got to do is, once you've installed it, just add files. So I'm going to add that MP4 file, this one just here, and then I'm going to break it down into frames. So you can choose how many frames you want from the file, from the actual video. You can, but I'd just recommend using every frame. It will just enable the actual boot animation to be a lot smoother. So let's convert that. It won't take too long. And then let's view all the files that were made from it. So here are all the files, all the different frames that were taken from that MP4. As you can see, there's quite a few. Next thing we need to do is we need to create a folder. So we need to create a new folder, and let's just call it boot, just for simplicity, just so we know. And in here, let's just create another folder and call it Android. Now what we want to do is we just want to copy and paste all these files, all these different frames, and transfer it into our Android folder. And there we go. Right, that's one part done, almost. So let's load up Notepad, and let's call this file DESC and save. Okay, so the first part of this is basically going to tell the actual animation what to do. So what we need to do is we need to actually set the size of the animation. So we're going to be aiming this at an Android TV box. So it makes sense to actually make the size of the animation 1920 by 1080. Now, if you're using a mobile phone, then this is going to be entirely different. It'll be something like 480, I think, or 800 by 1080 or something like that. You know, to correspond with the size of the phone screen. So this is the the size of the display that this boot animation is going to be displayed on. Now, next thing we need to do, we need to put in the amount of frames per second that this boot animation is going to be playing at. So I'm going to set it to 30 frames. You can set it to 20, 10. It really just depends on how many frames in your actual boot animation. So as we've seen before, I've got quite a lot of frames in my boot animation. So 30 frames is going to be enough on it, so it plays nice and smooth. So the next stage is we need to tell the boot animation where to find our frames at and how to display those frames. So the next line, we'll type P as shown. So we'll just type P, and then we've got next to it 2 numbers. Now this 1 here means basically it won't loop the actual animation. This part of the animation will not loop. But if I change that to 0, because for the purpose of this particular animation I'm creating now, I want this to loop until Android loads, if that makes sense. So when this boot animation is installed onto a phone, a TV box or whatever, then the animation will continue to boot until Android boots. So it'll keep playing over and over again until Android boots. Now next to it we've got 0 again, because each frame will be playing and I don't want any pause between each frame playing. Now the next thing, we need to tell the boot animation where those frames are kept. So we created the Android folder before, and there was a full of all our frames that we're going to be using for our boot animation, and I've called it Android. So obviously this part is going to be named Android. Now there is actually other parts to this as well. You can actually create more than one of these. So if you've got quite a complicated animation going on, and you've got lots of different stages of the animation going on, then you would want lots of different components to this. For example, we would type 1 there, so that means it would just play that section, whatever frames are in this folder. So in the Android folder it would play it once, and then it would move on to the next one, and then we create another one. So we'd say P again, then say this is the second part of the animation, so this is the end part of the animation. We want this end part to boot and loop over and over again until Android boots. Sorry, I keep saying boot, but I'm sure you're with me at this point. But so basically this needs to loop over and over again, this second part of this animation, and then until Android actually boots. So name that 0. I don't want any pauses in between frames. And then if you've got a second part to your animation, you'd obviously have those frames in another part in the animation. So maybe it's called a loading, for example, which is a good one. A lot of the Chinese boot animations are sort of set out like this. So that would be the end of it really. Basically you can have as many of these as you want to, but for now I have just making a very simple one. I've only got one folder, which is called Android, and I just want that to loop over and over again with my boot animation when it's installed onto my phone, onto my TV box, and I just want it to loop over and over again until Android loads. So make sure obviously you've got this file set to DESC, so it's named DESC. You've got P, you've set how many times it wants to loop. So in this case it wants to loop over and over again, not just play it once. And then you've got it no pauses between frames. I've got 30 frames a second for the actual playback, and I've set the actual size of the resolution. So that's that pretty much completed. We can now put that in with the rest of our folders. So we've got the DESC file, what we literally just done. We've got our Android full of our frames just here. Now if you're creating frames with a file that has lots of numbers in it, then just make sure you've changed that to a name, and then that program I showed you before on how to break up the frames, it will put 001 and 0 and so on, and it would just do all that for you, and it should play nice and smooth. Now final thing we need to do is we need to zip these up and call it boot animation. So what we're going to do is we need to go to add to archive, and then we need to call it boot animation. We need to turn it into a zip file, and the final really important bit is, okay guys, you're watching because this is quite important, the compression method will be store. Okay, that's really important, that part. And then you can press OK, and it'll create our boot animation. So a few other things as well, a couple of other developers and stuff like that over on XDA and stuff suggest that you don't use interlacing on your files. As well as that, you need to be aware of Android 5 Lollipop For some reason, there's a big glitch with it and it can't handle more than 30 frames on your boot animation. So I think they fixed that a long time ago. I'm pretty sure they did. But if you come across any issues with like that, then just be aware that Lollipop for some reason will not allow more than 30 frames a second due to some sort of memory issue or something like that. But now I want to move over now because I kind of want to explain a bit more about the different stages. So I just created one stage for my boot animation just as you've seen, but I did mention that you can create lots of different stages. Now I want to be showing you an example and I'm going to be showing you exactly what I mean by that. So the Mbox logo coming out of the screen is the first stage of the animation. And this stage you can see here is the final stage, and this loops over and over again until Android boots. Now the reason that is because the original developers of this boot animation did not want the actual entire thing repeated over and over again. They only wanted this final stage of the Mbox logo to repeat and loop, rather than the Mbox logo coming out of the screen over and over again, because that would, I guess, it would be a little bit annoying. So the Mbox logo, the final stage, is that looped over and over again, as I showed you before. So we would have two stages. We'd have the Android with the actual frames of the Mbox logo coming out of the screen, so that would be in that folder, and in the second folder would just be this Mbox logo with that kind of the light sort of effect shining across it. That would be in the second folder, so that would be your complete DESC file. With boot animations you can be creative as you want, really, and as well as that you can also use an actual tool dedicated to actually making these things. It's called Boot Animation Factory. Now, I'm not going to cover that in this video, of course. I think this video has gone on enough, but I shall leave the link in the description below. You can also use this tool to preview any boot animations that you've maybe made already. I'm also going to leave some links in the description to maybe where you can actually read a written tutorial on how to actually do this. I know some of you guys will probably prefer that. I know it can be quite complicated watching a video and trying to do it all at the same time. I know myself, I much prefer a written tutorial when it comes to these sort of things. So to actually change your boot animation on your Android device, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to use a file explorer, head to system, head to media, and in there you'll see your boot animation file. If you want to keep your previous one, just rename it to something else and then place your boot animation. Make sure it's called bootanimation.zip, otherwise it's not going to work. Once that's done, you can reboot your device and then see your work completed. I think that pretty much concludes this video. There's obviously quite a lot more to this, and there's, creating these boot animations can become quite complex. Hopefully this is just giving you a basic guide to actually doing it, and so you can get your head around the basics of it, basically. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. My name's Matthew, and you've been watching another tutorial by the MXQ Project. Don't forget to check out the website, mxqproject.com, Facebook group, and of course our Twitter, @MXQ Project. Thanks for watching, and we shall see you very, very soon.